They brought us by transport plane to that first camp, Shebekino, in Russia, not far from Kharkiv. It was surrounded by a fence and there were armed guards with dogs. The temperature was minus 22 Celsius. And when we exited the vehicles, we were all beaten fiercely. They asked who we were, and I replied that we were priests and that we had come on a humanitarian mission to collect the bodies, and there was an agreement between the Russians and Ukrainians that they should allow us to anchor and let us onto the island to gather up the bodies and take them to Odessa. He told me there was no agreement between Russia and Ukraine and accused us of being spies with a special task to perform.
The men were told that nobody had been killed in the attack, but instead, the Ukrainians had been taken prisoner. It was at that point that Chokov and his colleagues Leonid Bulgarov, Vasil Virusov, and Ivan Tarasenko were also taken prisoner with their crews and flown to a camp near the border with Ukraine. Chokov told us about the conditions that they faced there.
They brought us by transport plane to that first camp, Shebekino, in Russia, not far from Kharkiv. It was surrounded by a fence and there were armed guards with dogs. The temperature was minus 22 Celsius. And when we exited the vehicles, we were all beaten fiercely by punches, kicks, hit by weapons, in the face or elsewhere on our bodies. We were forced to kneel for 2 hours, while each person was taken individually for identification, where we were photographed and fingerprinted. And we were given numbers as our identities, instead of our names. My number was 24. My father Vasil became number 27. Our clothes were swapped for prison uniforms, and our heads were shaved. It was cruel vengeance against Ukrainian citizens by the Russian Federation. I understood Russians are killing Ukrainians just because we are Ukrainians, and they don't want us to live as independent and free people. The Russian Federation wants to bring back the old USSR. In the camp, we were all beaten up, all of us, military, civilians, and priests. They wanted to know who we were. They accused us of being spies and demanded to know what our mission was when we arrived at Zamini Island. We told them why we'd been sent, but they absolutely refused to believe us. They held us there for some 26 days and again kept asking who we were, why we'd gone to the island. They beat and tortured us repeatedly. They accused us of working for the Ukrainian SBU intelligence service and demanded to know whether we had signed documents agreeing to work with the Ukrainian security services. They continually said they wanted to convict us of espionage and to sentence us to between 10 to 15 years in prison. But we insisted we were civilians and citizens of Ukraine, and we didn't know why we were being held. We told them we should be released. They breach all the rules and rights for prisoners of war and clerics under the Geneva Convention. The Convention says that priests have the right to communicate with and support prisoners, to give them help, that the Red Cross has the right to access prisoners and give them aid. But no, Russia completely ignores these rules. For instance, during an exercise period outdoors, one of the guards grabbed me from behind by my clothes and pressed his knee very hard into my spine. He then hit me so hard that I fell, and I simply didn't have the strength to get up because I was weak from having lost so much weight. I was in pain. We weren't breaking any rules at all. They were doing this when they wanted. There was such hatred, such evil towards anything Ukrainian. They don't want us to be free or independent. The evil they do, it's horrific. They are sick people.
Це жахіття якесь, це люди, хворі, я скажу так.